don't just give up. You try different alternatives to reach the employee to pull them back, especially if you saw that coming in, the employee was a person who had high enthusiasm. Something had to happen in the midst of the workplace to down that enthusiasm.
And one of the ways I would imagine that you could see whether that enthusiasm is being downed, so to speak, is the level of engagement.
Yes.
So how do you gauge engagement? And, in a tangible way, I guess you can see if people are still open, but what are some of the markers that you're checking off for engagement? Is it just being open and free and speaking, being willing to do their work plus a little extra? How do you check off what levels of engagement are with an employee and whether it has dwindled?
So I believe in research. So I strongly suggest that companies conduct internal research. You won't know until you ask the question. So there are many metrics that HR professionals use to measure employee engagement. Some are employee net promoter score, where you simply ask the employee on a scale of 0 to 10, would you recommend someone to work at your workplace?
Ask me.
And the goal is to have that score, even if it starts low, the goal is to have the score gradually increase and to gradually work on the things that might be causing that score to be low. Another thing would be to monitor the employee turnover rate. The rate at which employees are leaving the organization also sends a signal to HR that something, should send a signal to HR that something is wrong. And therein is the value of exit interviews. So in exit interviews, the person is leaving the company, you gather information from the person, you implore with them to be honest and respectful, but you gain feedback on what could have gone wrong and you make changes. You don't just take the feedback and put it on a piece of paper and let it sit there. You try to make intentional changes to make the organization a better environment. So those are two metrics where you could use, along with completing employee and customer feedback surveys.
All right, so that's a lot, but it makes great sense.
Yep.
Particularly for the exit surveys. The truth of the matter is, with later generations, I find that they're less inclined to kind of stick around in businesses. So you'll find people of my age and maybe older who are in organizations for 20 years plus, 15, 20 years plus. But now here's a situation where you have Gen Zers coming in and they're like, I'm not staying at any business for more than 3 years. So if you have a lot of people kind of moving through the business, is this always an indicator that, there are challenges at the business? Or could it be a sign of the times?
3 years, no. But 3 months, yes. I would say if your employee turnover rate is every 3 months, you're looking for new employees to staff, that something may be wrong in the organization. 3 years, I agree with you, because as I tell people, we're employing a new set of generation and their mindset is different. And kudos to them. They're changing the game, but they're also making employers be more accountable for their environment and their work culture, because they're saying, hey, I am not willing to risk my sanity to stay in an environment that is not healthy for me. I would leave. So it's not always a red flag. I wouldn't gauge 3 years as a red flag. It might be someone just looking for a more professional development or growth and they weren't able to see it within the company. But definitely 3 months or a few months and you're constantly getting that turnover, yes, I would gauge that as a kind of a red flag.
And you also mentioned that within that matrix, you should also reach out to customers to find out about their satisfaction levels. For a long time, we heard the customer is always right. And now we're seeing people moving away from that in a big way. And they say, no, the customer is not always right. I find here in Barbados, even if you're not combative and you make a complaint, even the managers seem to be upset, no matter what the situation is. So how do you get to the place where you are giving the level of customer service that the people who are patronizing your business deserve, and kind of letting your employees know that, they have to deliver a level of service that makes the business look good as well. It's a tightrope to walk on, to determine whether you're kind of picking your employee's side or the customer side.
So when that saying first came around, the customer is always right. I think the takeaway was supposed to be that you always leave the customer with a positive interaction. It's always end off on a positive note. And I find that our customer service is drawing a little further and further away from such. And I do think that it has a lot to do with morale and what goes on behind the scenes that the customers cannot see. Again, as I said, I don't encourage bad service or bad customer service, but there are a lot of factors going on. So recently we would have had a fast food organization inside of the headlines a lot, where it was saying that allegedly they were working under conditions such as with no AC, no proper airflow. And I frequent the organization a few times, and you know, when I go in, I like to have a little conversation with the girls and how you doing and stuff like that. And then one of the girls was telling me, I'm okay, I'm just really tired. I was here from since 8 a.m. and the whole evening shift called in, and it's now 8 p.m. and she's still there working and trying to do her best. If she and the others didn't decide to stay on, the organization would be shut. So I say that to say that there are many factors going on in the background. And then when you read the comments now under the post, you will see people saying that customer service is horrible. And in my head I go like, duh, because how would you expect to work in an environment where you're working long hours, there's no proper airflow? All of these things will affect your customer service. And it's not always a case where employees are being mistreated. Sometimes it might be something going on personally in the employee's life that's affecting their work, the way how they work. And in situations like that, you want to encourage management to be more vigilant, to spot when employees are going down a downturn, making a turn for the worse, that you encourage some type of training or some type of counseling to get the customer service back to the level. The last thing I would say is to encourage the employees to have their way from the beginning, to know the way from the onset. A lot of times we employ people in jobs and we want them to know the company's goals and the company's visions, and some people in entry-level positions cannot see how their position connects to the company's goals and the company's visions. So they just think, I'm working this entry-level position. And that's a tragedy to me, because you are the head person who is dealing with the customers. You're the face of the company. And I think that that's not communicated to people enough to encourage them that they are connected to the company's goals and they are very much valued and appreciated.
All right, good stuff. We're going to take a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about more ways to help boost morale. That's all next. Stay with us.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
The ultimate cricket showdown is coming to ESPN, and MCTV has got you covered. The ICC Cricket World Cup 2024 is here on ESPN and MCTV. Tune into MCTV channels 302 and 308 and don't miss a single six, wicket or heart-pounding moment as top teams vie for the 2024 T20 World Cup. From June 1st to 29th, it's cricket you can't afford to miss. Tune into ESPN on MCTV, and for live radio coverage, tune into 94.7. Catch every moment of the ICC Cricket World Cup T20 action.
Welcome to the Cropover Sweet Spot, your go-to show for all things Cropover 2024. We'll dive into the big issues of the day with exclusive interviews with the entertainers, the experts, the movers and shakers of the festival, plus you, the audience. Get to join the conversation and share your views. Tune in to CBC TV 8 every Friday night for the ultimate Cropover experience with yours truly, the Admiral. We're big on everything Cropover 2024. The Cropover Sweet Spot, brought to you with the kind compliments of Axel Finance.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get
get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
So good in a party yet. You know why?
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
Calling all Soccerholics! The highly anticipated soccer pop-up party of the season is back! Follow us to a different location every Friday night from 8 p.m. from May 10th to June 14th for the Barbados Lottery White Oak Rum 98.1 The One Soccer Stop Pop-Up Party!
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you indeed. Welcome back to Morning Barbados. The time is quickly going by. Oh my goodness, it's already 6:29. So we're really galloping toward the 7 o'clock hour. And we're joined here by Rebecca Hines, who's an HR professionals. And we're looking at morale matters today, how engaged employees elevate customer satisfaction. So we talked a lot about recognizing whether employees are engaged or their morale is somewhat shot. And we started to look at how we can boost morale in our employees. How can we make people kind of get to a place where they're feeling better about themselves within the organization and generally as well, because I know people say it's important to kind of separate work life and private life, but there's no such thing, I don't think.
There's not.
It's difficult if you have challenges at home or you come to work. You know, it's difficult to kind of set that aside and continue and put a smile on and move on. Could be very difficult. So how do you boost employee morale to the point where you're seeing that level of customer satisfaction and engagement that you really want to see?
Okay, so there are a number of ways to boost employee morale. First, the typical rewards and recognition, which encompasses Employee of the Month program. But I want to encourage employers to do more than just Employee of the Month for rewards and recognition. There are so many days in the year where we have this month is Men's Health Month, Men's Mental Health Month. You have Women's Day, they have Men's Day. If we could focus on a few more of those days instead of just 12 employees of the month and get some rewards and recognition going so that every employee touches something throughout the year where they feel appreciated, that would move the meter in a more positive direction. There's also encouraging professional growth and development where possible in the workplace. Make the opportunities known to the employees that there is room for growth within the company, and this is how you can grow within the company, and make it the information available to everyone across the board. There's also employee involvement. Employees like to be involved, especially in decision making, especially as it relates to their workspace and their work environment. So it could be simple as you're running a special in the month of July and you're asking the employees which 2 days would you think that we should run the special, Tuesday or Thursday, and employees have feedback. They work their stations every day, they know what is going on, and they tend to have more knowledge about what is going on the ground than someone in marketing. So they might be able to pitch in and say, well, if it's more foot traffic that you're looking to capitalize on, that then we should do it on a Thursday. If we're looking to bring more customers to the store, then I think we should do it on a Tuesday. But however, if you're going to do it on a Tuesday, you might need to bring in more staff, because as that is a later day, we have fewer staff on that day. So encourage employee involvement where possible. Also in planning in the rewards and recognition programs, you want to get their input and their feedback about what they would like or what they would appreciate. And you know, they might ask for something outrageous, but there might be a workaround where the employee and the company's ideas can meet together. work-life balance, encouraging flexi time where possible, work from home days where possible, revamping the sick days from being six sick days to maybe 3 personal days to 3 sick days. So there are a lot of ways to increase employee morale, but I would say start with asking the employees what would help to boost their morale in the company.
Absolutely. I love that. I love, just thinking about engagement and getting people's opinions on what's happening, sharing. So where do meetings come in? I find that a lot of companies are moving away from frequent meetings. They're saying, meetings take up a lot of valuable time where you could be actually doing stuff. So to be able to see that level of engagement, I think sometimes you really need to meet to be able to see other people, maybe from other departments, and get together and get things done. Find out what's happening in other parts of the business. There's nobody who wants to hear about what's happening from outside of the company.
Exactly.
And I don't think that should ever happen. I don't think you should be a part of a company that you are finding out at the same time the rest of the public, the members of the public, are finding out about new initiatives or promotions, particularly if you're in a front-facing job, if you're in a job where you're directly engaging with customers.
And I think that's a great disservice to both the customers and the employees, because sometimes we see promotions going on social media, and then you will call the place or you go into the store, and then the employees have no idea what is going on, and it shows a lack of communication within the company. And I agree, regular meetings, and they don't have to be long-winded meetings. It could be something as simple as morning huddles every other day, or end of week meeting. We need to get back to making sure that the communication is all across the board, and the employees, especially the employees who are dealing with the customers, are facing the employers, are equipped and knowledgeable to complete their job properly.
How do we measure success? How do we measure whether we are moving from a place where morale is low and employees are now even more engaged, and we're seeing the rewards in the way we engage with our customers or how our customers feel generally about the businesses? How do we kind of measure that in a tangible way? I know before you mentioned maybe some surveys and so on, but are there other ways that you can kind of pick up that things are going in a better direction?
So you would see it in certain areas such as the absenteeism in the company. You'll find employees calling in a lot less. You'll find employees being more involved, more talkative, more sharing their ideas and opinions about the business and what they think might work. You'll see employees being more happy. So that translates from within the organization towards the customer. So when the customers come in, they are more enthusiastic and more willing to help because they are in a comfortable place and a comfortable environment. All of these things can kind of give you a measurement about what is going on within the engagement and the morale in the company.
Oh, those are good ways to look at it. So, I think we've covered the gamut in terms of what we are talking about. Talking though about bullying in the workplace, I think that's something that we really have to look at in a totally different manner. You hear so many stories, and there are employees, some who might be a little bolder. Maybe job security is not as major a concern for them as others, who kind of just cower away and they feel like they have no recourse and so on. So that's something that we definitely should look at in future. Still, how it ties into overall morale and how they're able to engage with customers and the like. But I think we've generally covered a lot on how we get employees engaged to be able to elevate customer service. And finally, what advice would you give to managers and in HR or management generally about how they should engage with customers if there are challenges between them and the employees? Because as I mentioned before, sometimes it feels like, as we would say in Bajan parlance, you don't get no satisfaction. It's almost like they feel like if I go against my employee, then they feel like I'm not on their side. But you can see clearly that there's a challenge and they're not confident enough to kind of step out and make things right.
Yes. So in a situation like that, I would definitely first encourage management to separate the two. It makes no sense trying to be in the middle of customer and an employee going back and forth. Separate the two. Have a conversation with the customer first to see what is going on and what the issue may be. Practice active listening to really try to put yourself in the person's position to find out what was the issue and how best you can mitigate the issue at the moment. And then you have a conversation with your employee to get their side of things. So don't just go off of what the customer said and you come and you bring down the hammer on the employee. Listen to the employee to get their type of feedback to figure out what went wrong. Of course, there may be some that are, the customer might be dishonest and the employee might be dishonest, and that is where we have other people around who may have witnessed the situation or camera evidence where you would have seen what happened. But the goal should always should be always to find a win-win situation for both, but it's not always possible. But it would encourage you to go in with that mindset and to listen to both sides and then to find a better arrangement going forward on how we can better mitigate challenges such both for the employee, especially for the employee side of things, how to handle difficult customers. There might be some more training needed going on in the background.
How do we move to effect change as employees? How do we move to get management or owners to see that there could be a benefit in giving employees a holiday off or giving them the birthdays off, hint, hint, ramping up what they do for the various holidays, men's days, you talked about men's health days, levels of engagement. How do we agitate in a way that's not agitating to management or owners?
That's a good question. I myself personally try to employ with employers the 6 days. You can have an employee know 2 weeks from now they're not going to be at work on that Thursday coming in July. You can have the employee call out the same day and have more than one employee call out on that same day, and you're looking to fill the shift and fill the gaps of those 2 employees. Or you could implement the system where you have some of those days or all of those days turn to personal days, where the employee is then better able to request 2 weeks from now, Thursday, I would like a personal day. Things are,
mental health day.
Or mental health day.
Yeah,
things are getting heavy in the background. I need a day. And I think those are days we want to encourage more than discourage, because having an employee at work who isn't there is not going to be good for your customer base. Sometimes we need a break, and being able to switch those days, or being able to, if you don't want to switch all, put 3 as personal days and 3 as sick days, might give the employee and the organization a little more collaboration in being able to say, well, okay, so she's going to have next Thursday in 2 weeks, she's going to be not there, she's not going to be there. Let me find someone to fill the shift in advance. I mean, you may have a situation where someone else decides to call out, but for that one person, you already had the shift filled because you knew they weren't going to be there. Because these are things as employees, we know when we might need a day, or we might get up. There are cases where you may get up and you're feeling that mentality heavy and weighing on you that you're not going to go. But more than likely, sometimes we know that we need a day coming up, and it might be able to communicate that towards the employer and have them plan than just have you to sporadically call out.
It's true. And then with all that's happening, to be able to get out in the middle of the day to do your business is a challenge these days. Even just with traffic, it can be really difficult to, within that hour, nip out, as we used to call it, and be able to get things done. So, I mean, that calls for a level of mutual respect and understanding that we often don't see in businesses, where an employee feels confident enough to say, listen, my child is having a form level meeting next week, and I'd like to take the day off instead of coming in and leaving at 12 o'clock and then having to go rush and come back. I'd like to take that as a personal day. A lot of the times I find people are kind of behind the scenes with a big stick, trying to see if they can peek through bushes and stuff, and you're caught in the act, so it calls for a level of thinking that moves away from kind of standing up watching time. Determine how many hours have you been here. Is it time for you to clock out as yet? And we saw that shift around COVID.
Yes.
So the younger generation, and I was telling you this even before we came on air, the younger generation, they're kind of more into flexi time and working away from the office. But for the older generations, I would say millennials and before, it feels like, you know, you have to be in the office to kind of get things done and see results. So there might be a break in transmission, so to speak, when it comes to us aligning values as we move from generation to generation. But I think then the onus is on the business to kind of find that medium that matches for everybody.
Yeah, I keep telling people and owners, businesses, that we're employing a whole different generation and the times are changing and we have to change with the times. If you want to stay that employer or that company that has top applicants and people are recruiting to come at when you're recruiting, people want to come and work at your business and you're having top of the line applicants, we're going to have to learn to be more flexible and provide opportunities for people to manage work-life balance. And I totally agree. COVID shifted the conversation drastically, where we lived through a pandemic and people started to see, well, you know, I have to put my work-life balance more in perspective. I have to pay more attention to home, because there's still a lot of people still recovering from COVID who would have lost loved ones and who would have lost work and job placement in there, and they're not willing to put that type of level of commitment back into a company without getting some type of commitment from the company or flexibility from the company as well.
All right, so it's been a long and very interesting conversation with you, Rebecca, but I think it's one that needs to be had. I will say, though, that I'm one of those people who, you know, I'm all for working from home, but not every day. I think people still have to come into the office and engage and stuff. And it doesn't come from a place where I think people aren't doing what they should do at home, because you can gauge whether the work is being done or not.
Of course.
Even though in the US this week there was a big tech company that fired quite a few employees for using a device called a mouse jiggler. So they're working from home, and what they've done is bought these devices that kind of jiggle the mouse
so
that
they remain online.
So because they kind of see if people are online or whatever. Anyways, thanks for coming in. Thanks for your time. I know it takes a lot out of your day to come in and be able to share with us some prep, and it makes all the difference, particularly as an HR professional. We don't often feel like we can sit and have conversations with you, and I think it's important for us to get to the place where people feel comfortable going to HR outside of if it's a complaint.
Yes.
Because I think when people think HR, they think has to be something wrong, something is going wrong, they need to help correct something rather than mitigating possible long-term challenges, or just getting some balance in terms of what you're doing. So thank you so much, Rebecca Hines, sharing with us on, you know, what we looked at today, morale matters, how engaged employees elevate customer satisfaction. Interesting discussion. So share your views. Remember, you can email us, morninbarbados@cbc.bb, or share your views on our social pages as well. It's time for a break. When we come back, Dr. Paul Rouse will be in the house.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Affair segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.bb. And together we will travel the world.
From 98.1 to CBC TV8 comes the Soca Avenue, the sweetest soca hour in radio. It's artists with new tunes and some old sweet ones too.
jamming on the Soca Avenue. Saturdays, join AON Skills and the crew down on Soca Avenue. All new on CBC TV8. Feeling the festival.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate.
All right, so it's time for Doc Talk. Dr. Paul Rouse is in the house. My people are telling me I'm corny. Hello, there's nothing wrong with rhyming. Absolutely not. So good morning to you, Dr. Rouse. Always good to see you here.
Good morning. Thanks for having me again.
Good morning. So we're looking again at kidney stones. And last time we talked about the fact that, you know, data is showing that more people are kind of presenting with challenges with kidney stones. So what are some of the reasons, first of all, before we get into the treatment?
Yes, that's why I brought back up this topic again, as we probably are, I think all Bajans are aware right now we're going through a little bit of a heat wave sort of situation, where I've noticed over the last few weeks I've seen a higher number of patients presenting with kidney stones, so that's why I thought it would be relevant to bring that topic up again. As you alluded to, in terms of, yes, we're definitely seeing a higher incidence of kidney stones. I think studies, certainly in the, when I was studying several years ago in terms of doing my my postgraduate studies, would say that the incidence of or the prevalence of kidney stones, we would say roughly about 1 in 10 persons would have a kidney stone. We think there are a lot of factors due to this. Certainly our diet is definitely a big factor to it. And because of our lifestyle has definitely changed, where we're not having a lot of physical activity, a lot of exercise. These are some of the big factors that are contributing to the higher incidence of kidney stones. So specifically in the diet, because we're a lot busy, we're on the go, we don't want to be running to the bathroom and everything a lot of people, and in warm climates like Barbados, a lot of people are not drinking a lot of fluids. I think that's one of the biggest reasons for why we're seeing a higher incidence of kidney stones, because people are a lot more active, a lot more working and in a working environment. They cut down on the fluid intake because they don't want to be running to the bathroom all the time. And we have good studies, clear studies that have shown that inadequate fluid intake not only is poor for general health, but definitely poor for is one of the biggest risk factors for the formation of kidney stones. So I do encourage my patients to have plenty of fluid. Now, one of the things is a lot of patients come and say, well, I'm taking 2-3 liters of fluid a day. That may be inadequate, for example, a construction worker, where they're out in the sun, physical activity, they can lose so much urine, a lot of fluid, what we call insensible losses due to sweating. Whereas a person in an office like myself, where my office is air conditioned, I may not necessarily need to take in a lot of fluids because I'm not as physically active, I'm not sweating as much. So it is not only the amount of fluid you take in, is the adequate amount of fluid. And one of the best ways I find to gauge whether you're taking an adequate amount of fluid is to measure your urine output. It's a little bit difficult. I always, whenever I propose this to patients, they always say, well, how are you going to walk around with a container to measure my urine? I don't necessarily need to have a big container. I usually, especially for stone formers, do encourage them to get a little measuring cylinder. You can easily pick this up at most hardwares for a few dollars. And over a 24-hour period, measure how much urine you're passing. So usually that first set of urine in the mornings, I tell them let that go into the toilet. That's really urine that would have been in your bladder from the night before. But thereafter, try to pass your urine into the container, set it down, see how much it is, and just write it down on a piece of paper. If you're not getting up to that 2.5 liters of urine a day, so that's 2,000 to 2,500 mils of urine, you're really not having adequate fluids. You don't have to do this on a daily basis. You can do this once a week, once a month, just to gauge how much you're paying, because it is really the measured amount of urine that is really important, okay? So in theory, whatever is forming your stones, whether it's calcium oxalate, whether it's uric acid, whether it's infection stones, whether it's calcium carbonate, these are all the more common type of stones. If you dilute your urine enough, in theory, it shouldn't form. I mean, that's not the only risk factor, but it's one of the biggest risk factors. And just simply, so if you as a stone former present today with a symptomatic stone, if you continue the way you are, you have a 50% chance over the next 5 years of coming back again with another stone. By just simply increasing your amount of fluid, you drop that risk down to only 10-20% by just simply increasing the amount of fluid that you're taking in. So fluid intake is one of the biggest things. Unfortunately, processed foods contain a lot of substances, namely purines. And purines, when they break down, form something called uric acid. And uric acid, when it's excreted in urine, although it might not necessarily form uric acid stones like with gout, the uric acid can then act as a nidus for the stone formation of your more common stone, which is your calcium oxalate stones. So that's what, unfortunately, with a lot of processed foods contain purines, and therefore increase your risk of having stone formation. And then one of the other things that a lot of patients don't like to hear when I tell them, meats. Unfortunately, animal protein, when it's broken down, it's amino acids. That acid has to go somewhere. Again, that is excreted by your kidneys, and again, predisposing you to stone formation. It's not that we do not need protein. It's important that we have protein, but we tend to have a lot more protein in Western diets than we actually need. We roughly need about 1 gram of protein per pound. So usually that's probably, I think I've mentioned this before, that'd be 1 or 2 chicken legs, drumsticks a day, maybe a portion of fish or so. But the thing is, we tend to have 3-4 drumsticks, 2 or 3 servings of proteins throughout the day. So our Western diet tends to be very high in animal protein, and hence a risk factor for stone
I know
formation.
we talked about a lot about, you know, liquid intake, water intake, and it differs based on, you know, how you
your work
yes. Or you know,
your level of activity,
how you live your life, your level of physical activity.
Correct.
Are there any people who are kind of predisposed to these conditions,
so
even outside of your physical inactivity or you know, lack of drinking enough water, things like that?
Yes, we're clearly there are some genetic factors involved, and if you just look at it just from the point of view that some people come with a kidney stone in one kidney, so you might come today with a right kidney stone, and why hasn't it not formed in your left kidney? Considering that both kidneys are exposed to the same blood, the same nutrients, etc. There are some factors that we're not 100% sure why that's happened. There's definitely some genetic factors there. Those are fairly easy to spot to a certain extent, because those patients tend to have relatives that have kidney stones, and then they will tend to have multiple kidney stones and then both kidneys. So when we're looking for genetic factors, we tend to see that. So there's some conditions where you excrete excessive amounts of calcium in your urine, which we call hypercalciuria. Then obviously there's things like gout, where you have a problem with metabolizing uric acid, and therefore you excrete a lot more in your urine, not only forming gout, which is you deposit crystals in your joints, usually like your big toe, or your ankle, or your hip joints, but also in your kidneys, forming kidney stones. We don't see it here. I haven't seen any patients here with it. It's another condition called hypercystinuria, where you produce a substance called cysteine in your urine, which is a breakdown of your amino acids. And again, that's because it's family related. You'll see that early. That would be developed from childhood. You'll have other family members that have hypercystinuria. So yes, there are definitely some genetic and family factors involved with stone formation, but they're the minority of stones.
How do gallstones present themselves in terms of symptoms that we might be able to pick up on, for you to be able to tell there might be something here?
Yes. So the classic symptom you get from kidney stones is pain in what we call the flank area. So that's that fleshy area in between your lower rib cage and your pelvic bone on either side. So when it's classically in the kidney, it's in that area, and as it moves down the ureter towards the bladder, it then moves down into the groin area. Sometimes, as in men, it can get pain relating to your testicles, into your penis, inner thighs, or suprapubic area, or sometimes into the back as well. So those are probably the classic symptom of kidney stones is pain. And you get that sharp, very intense pain. I'm not a woman, never had a baby, but some women say it's even worse than childbirth in terms of the severity of the pain. And it usually would prompt you to seek medical attention. And most GPs, most emergency centers are clued in. We have readily available ultrasound, so usually most of the time the screening test will be an ultrasound. But there's the other presentation, which can be a little bit troubling sometimes, is when you have this diffuse aching pain that is not as sharp as the renal colic to force you to go to the doctor right away. This is one where I really do encourage GPs to always, when we have seeing a patient with recurrent what we call non-specific abdominal pain, to always have that screen with an abdominal and pelvic ultrasound just to see what's going on, so that we don't miss kidney stones. Especially here in Barbados, where you have a lot of chronic kidney diseases, diabetes, hypertension, where chronic kidney disease is a major problem, kidney stones is actually a cause for chronic kidney disease and a readily reversible cause for chronic kidney disease. So if you make the diagnosis, you can treat kidney stones either with surgery or conservative measures. You don't always have to have surgery, and remove the kidney stones and therefore reduce that risk of getting chronic kidney disease. Fortunately, it's a minority. Diabetes, hypertension, more common cause for that, but kidney stones is fairly common cause of it that is readily reversible.
So let's talk about that. How you're able then to kind of get rid of these kidney stones once somebody comes in and they present with this condition. How do you take care of it? Does it always have to end in surgery?
No, it doesn't always have to end in surgery. So what we discussed earlier is about prevention in terms of adequate fluid intake, reducing your animal protein. The other thing I didn't mention there, the key thing again, is reducing your salt intake. The reason why this is important, too much salt in your diet causes you to excrete a lot more calcium in your urine and predispose to stone. So the best way, as our grandparents would always say, prevention is better than cure. So once you've unfortunately had a kidney stone, or you've developed a kidney stone, you've been to your GP or the emergency center, you've had your ultrasound, or we very rarely use X-ray now, or CT scan to make the diagnosis. Depending on the size and the location of the stone, will determine how best to manage it for you. So once a kidney stone is quite small, usually once it's less than about 5-7 millimeters, we've got good studies. Both the American Urological Association and the AU a few years ago put out a joint consensus that those patients with quite small stones, they can be expected that they will pass them, albeit with pain. So therefore, you can manage most of those patients conservatively with just adequate painkillers, adequate fluid intake. Now, not excessive fluid intake. So a lot of people say, oh, I got a kidney stone, I'm going to flush the kidney stone out. No, actually, the more fluid then you take in, then your kidneys have to produce more urine and therefore can make your pain a lot worse. You actually just need to maintain adequate fluid intake, not necessarily down in 3-4 liters of water to try to flush your kidney stone out. Actually, that would probably make your pain worse, okay? So conservative management really would be pain control. Usually anti-inflammatory is best. And then maintaining good fluid intake, and the vast majority of people would pass the small kidney stones on their own without us having to involve from a surgical point of view. We usually would give patients a few weeks to pass the stone. So I always have this conversation when I've been referred patients by my GP colleagues. I usually would try to get on the phone and talk to them, let them know, look, you've had a relevant investigation. It shows you have a small kidney stone. There's a really good chance that you'll pass the stone on your own without me having to intervene from a surgical point of view. And I do allow them that. So then I would tend to defer and see them, say, in 4 to 6 weeks' time with a repeat scan to confirm that they've passed the stone. I do warn them about the acute things that we would need to intervene for a little bit more urgently. So if you have uncontrolled pain, then clearly, obviously, we need to do something. Can't leave you in pain for a prolonged period of time. But the biggest other watch is the problem with kidney stones is that it can block the urinary system and then lead to infection. So if you start getting fever, feeling unwell, flu-like symptoms, that is a possible sign of infection. Burning on passing urine, that's another common of a UTI, basically symptoms of urinary tract infection, becomes a surgical emergency. So an obstructed infected kidney from a stone is a surgical emergency, a urological emergency until proven otherwise. So if you develop those symptoms while you're waiting to pass your stone, we would need to intervene urgently. But the vast majority of patients with a small stone will pass them on their own. We know this, so we don't necessarily need to intervene right away. We get their pain under control and give them a chance to pass the stone.
But for those who don't?
Right, so then when you don't pass the stone, then that's where we get involved. So as I said, I would routinely, once you have a small stone, I expect you to pass it. But then see you in 4 to 6 weeks with us. I always like to confirm you've passed this stone. I think this is really important. I've seen this so many times where patients were told they have a kidney stone, the pain goes away, and they never continue with the follow through. The reason why it's so important is that we have 2 kidneys, and what happens when you get a more severe obstruction on one kidney, the kidney actually then starts to shut down, stops producing urine, and the pain goes away. And the deception there is that you think, oh, I've passed this stone, I'm no longer having pain. But because you have another kidney that can pick up the slack, for lack of a better word, that kidney can actually become what we call hypertrophied, gets bigger, and it takes over the deficit from the other side. So that's why I think it's so important that you always confirm you've passed your stone. And a simple ultrasound is enough. We don't want ultrasound will not pick up 1-2 millimeter stones, but it certainly will pick up a 4 or 5 or bigger stones that are causing obstruction. So that's why I think it's really important. Again, because it's a readily reversible cause of kidney disease. So you don't want to miss that. It's really sad when I see patients who had a stone 2 or 3 years ago and come back now because they've had a scan or something for another reason and show that their kidney is blocked, it's atrophic, it's no longer functioning. I think, and because it's so readily reversible. So if then you haven't passed your stone, then you need to come see me as a urologist or one of the other urologists. There's several different ways of dealing with this stone. So we can, the key problem with managing kidney stones, regardless of where they are, is getting to the stone. So once we can get to the stone, nowadays with our laser technology, we can, and the relative availability of laser lithotripsy, we can deal with any stone, whether it's in your bladder, whether it's in your ureter, whether it's in your kidney. It's all really about access. So we have, and we've kind of gone away from open surgery. So traditionally, in the past, you'd cut for stone. We very rarely do that nowadays. So kind of open surgery, to a certain extent, is dead, but it's still important sometimes, yes. Sometimes if you have massive stones, yes, you have to do an open operation. But by and large, now we've gone away now to more minimally invasive techniques. So the most common would be probably uteroscopy and laser lithotripsy. So most stones will be probably about 1 centimeter or so. And that can easily be dealt with uteroscopically by passing a small camera via your water passage into the bladder. If it's a bladder stone, deal with it there. If it's a ureteric stone, up the ureter. If it's a kidney stone, it can go right up into the kidney. Because you have these flexible telescopes that can bend and go around corners, you can turn it around, and they have ports that allow us to pass the laser fiber down and break the stone up in that way. So uteroscopy and laser lithotripsy is probably the more common way of dealing with kidney stones. There is also shockwave lithotripsy, where you can, using various machines, can use powerful shock waves to break the stone up. I have not really gone to that technology because the success rate isn't that high, but that is appropriate in public sector where you can treat a lot of patients very rapidly with shockwave lithotripsy. So that, because I don't really work in public sector, I will leave that alone for hospital setting. I think that's more appropriate in that setting. But where, for example, where I work, because I work privately, where you kind of as a private patient, you really want something that's highly effective, almost 100% guarantee. That's where uteroscopy and laser trumps shockwave lithotripsy. And then the technique which I was going to discuss with you today really was about percutaneous nephrolithotomy. This is where when you have quite big stones and we make a track or a pass directly into the kidney using some special tubes, and we go directly using these miniaturized instruments, telescopes, to go directly onto the stone.
And I believe we have a visual of this.
Yes, I'm
you
not
wanted
sure.
to share.
Yeah, if you can put that up. So it's really, so the key thing is there is with the percutaneous nephrolithotomy, that track or tube that we're placing directly into the kidney is really to get access to the stone. So once you can see the stone, you can then use whichever lithotripter, whether it's a mechanical lithotripter or, as I said, more commonly laser lithotripter, to break the stone up into small pieces that we can remove.
So as you mentioned, I think it depends on the size of the stone,
yes.
Depends on the type of treatment that you would
yes.
move forward with. So this particular surgical technique that we talked about, what's the downtime like on that for people who have to have that procedure done?
So, as I mentioned before, flexible uteroscopy and laser lithotripsy is probably our main go-to now for kidney stones, whether in the kidney or ureter. That's probably good for stones that are less than about 15 millimeters, 1.5 centimeters. We're pushing the boundary a bit to 2 centimeters. So when it gets above about 2 centimeters, then it's best that those stones are dealt with using percutaneous nephrolithotomy, where we make the track directly into the kidney. Because the track is slightly bigger, although it's very small, just over 1 centimeter, it gives us good access to the stone, and we can remove a lot more stone in a shorter space of time. So that's why when it gets above about 2 centimeters, it's probably best that you do a percutaneous nephrolithotomy rather than uteroscopy and laser, because the uteroscope is very, very tiny. It's only about 7 French, so you're talking about 3-4 millimeters in diameter. You have to break the stone up into like fine, like sand, in order to remove it. So therefore it takes time. So with bigger stones, once they get above about 2 centimeters, a percutaneous nephrostomy is a lot more effective way of dealing with this stone.
Outside of water generally, and we talked about prevention being better than cure, are there any particular foods or other things we can do to take care of our kidneys? Because kidneys aren't necessarily organs that we think, hey, let me take this from my kidneys today.
Yes. All right. But just to finish off the last bit, in terms of your downtime with the PCNL, because the track is very, very small, the downtime is very short. Okay, so most patients will probably only spend a day or two in hospital, depending on how fast you recover after the operation. Everybody is slightly different, but usually by day 2, day 3, you should be home. And because the incision is very small, it's on the side, a lot faster recovery as opposed to when you had to cut your stem and stern to really take out. You spend several days in the hospital, several weeks recovering. So that's why I've introduced that technique to Barbados. But then as you're going on about what other foods that we can help with stone formation. So one of the biggest causes of stone disease is something called calcium oxalate. And then whenever you always mention calcium, everybody say, oh, you got to avoid dairy and everything. No, it's important that you maintain your normal intake of calcium. Dairy is the most common source of that. The real problem is not the calcium in our diet, is the oxalates. Yes, there are a few patients who do have high calcium excretion in their urine, and yes, but those are a minority. They account for less than 5% of stones. So most people need to maintain normal calcium intake. What that does, it binds the oxalates in our diets. So oxalates are found in a lot of nutritious foods such as fruits and vegetables, and a lot of micronutrients also associated with it that we need in our diet. So it's going to be difficult to cut out oxalates out of your diet because they're usually in foods that then, like nuts, fruits, vegetables, that contain all the good nutrients. So we really need to then mitigate against that by maintaining a normal calcium intake that binds with the oxalates in your diet, and you excrete that in your stool, rather than what happens if you start to avoid dairy, avoid the calcium, then you absorb more oxalates from your diet, and then you excrete it in your urine where it can bind with the calcium and then form calcium oxalate stones, which are the most common stones. So it's really important that you maintain a normal calcium. This is for the average stone former, okay? Then the next more common stone will be uric acid. I think some people will be aware of gout. That is where when you break down purines in our diet, again, purines in our diets is, so purines in our bodies are in our DNA and our RNA. It's in ATP and GTP. So these are the molecules that help the cells with energy production. So we need purines, and they're fairly common in our diet. But when they're broken down, they can form uric acid. So that's why I said about the meats and stuff in your diet, where you need to maintain adequate intake. But our Western diet tends to be excessive in terms of the amount of protein, and hence then we produce a lot more purines, a lot more uric acid. So for those patients who have gout, they have hyperuricemia, we can treat that medically with drugs such as allopurinol, which can help get your blood uric acid levels down and hence excrete less in your urine. So those are probably two more common stones: the calcium oxalate, which is 75-80% of our stones, and uric acid, which accounts for about 10-15%. The other stones, as I said, like cysteines and stuff, they're quite rare. So I must admit, I haven't seen any cystine stones since I've been back. Infectious stones are fairly common here in Barbados, in that patients who have recurrent urinary tract infections, you can see infectious stones in those patients. But the easiest way to treat that is to deal with the urinary tract infections.
All right, I want to thank you so much for sharing with us this morning. It's a lot to take in,
yes,
but I think it makes sense, and you broke it down in ways that we can understand what we need to do more of,
yes,
or start doing to be able to prevent all of this.
So
and if it's happening, what we need to be able to do to get to a better place health-wise.
Yes. So just those three key points. I think I would like to let viewers and listeners: adequate fluid intake. So you need to be drinking enough fluids to be passing a good 2.5 liters of urine a day. Cutting down your animal protein. Have more plant protein. If you're going to have animal protein, then fish is better. And then no added salt. Cutting out salt in your diet. I know it's difficult, but if you can, no added salt. Those are the three key things in the diet that
I think I asked you this last time as well, where there are a lot of people who talk about filtering your water and the difference that can make, and maybe using alkalized water or different types of water.
Yes,
Any truth to that?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and a lot of patients are doing this. The scientific evidence behind that is not there. Okay, the key thing is the fluid intake. Because of the substances that are used to in alkaline water. So alkaline water is really water that is higher pH than average water. The average tap water should have a pH around 7. So alkaline water, you're trying to get up to 8 or 9. The substances in the water actually metabolize in your stomach, so in your intestines. So actually you don't get alkali into your system. It makes sense that if you could have, in theory, as I said, with our diets being so acidic, with a high protein intake, that if you neutralize it with alkali, then hopefully you will mitigate a lot of these factors. We don't have strong evidence for that. There is one thing though with stone formers that we do encourage citrus. So citrus is in a lot of your citrus fruits, your oranges, your grapefruits, and those sort of things. Citrus in your diet can be excreted in your urine, and that has been shown to have an inhibitory effect on stone formation. So I do encourage patients, rather than actually having medical dissolution therapy, we didn't really get into that today, is that simply just squeezing 1 or 2 lemons in 2 liters of water and having that throughout the day. So you don't have to drink it all in one setting, but have a couple of glass or 2 with breakfast, a glass or 2 with lunch, a glass or 2 with dinner. That has been shown to be helpful in reducing reducing your risk of stone formation. So citrate in your diet is a good way of doing that, and a simple way of doing that. Rather than coming to my office and purchasing the powders, you can easily have some lemon water, as we would call it. It's a simple way of alkalizing your urine. So that actually alkalizes your urine, because the citrate is absorbed, excreted in your kidneys, and then broken down, and that actually alkalizes your urine.
All right, good stuff, Dr. Paul Rouse. Always wonderful to have him in with us. Thanks for your time.
You're most
Thanks
welcome.
for all of the wonderful advice. The great thing about these segments is often when we go in to see our doctors, there's not always that amount of time to be able to kind of sit down and ask the questions that we want and get the responses in this way, because they're kind of moving through the day and seeing other customers, other patients.
Yes.
So we want to make sure that we're able to get the questions. And again, reach out to us, send your questions. So next time Dr. Rouse is here, and of course we take direction from you as well. A lot of the topics that we deal with, some of them come from our viewers. So
Yes.
viewers say, here's a question, and we're able to kind of sit down and ask the doctors.
Yeah, that's why I was talking about stones today.
Yeah.
Over the last 3 weeks, I've really had definitely seen a spike in the number of patients presenting with kidney stones. So I wanted to reassure them that a lot they can do to prevent the stones in the first place, because yes, I'm a surgeon, I love operating, but obviously we don't want you to come to me in the first place. Prevention is better than cure.
Absolutely. All right, good stuff. It's time for another break here on Morning Barbados, but stay with us. More is coming up.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison's Cave, the tantalizing Oystins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
Tune in every Friday at 6 p.m. to see me, Chrissy D, on Fashion Flair on CBC TV8. I'll be bringing you the latest fashion trends, fashion ends, and everything in between. Get ready to transform your style, get inspired, and elevate your fashion game with the ultimate guide to looking fabulous. Join me, Chrissy D, this Friday on CBC TV8 at 6 p.m. for an exciting episode of Fashion Flair.
The ultimate cricket showdown is coming to ESPN, and MCTV has got you covered. The ICC Cricket World Cup 2024 is here on ESPN and MCTV. Tune into MCTV channels 302 and 308, and don't miss a single six, wicket, or heart-pounding moment as top teams vie for the 2024 T20 World Cup. From June 1st to 29th, it's cricket you can't afford to miss. Tune into ESPN on MCTV, and for live radio coverage, tune into 94.7 Catch every moment of the ICC Cricket World Cup T20 action.
Welcome to the Crop Over Sweet Spot, your go-to show for all things Crop Over 2024. We'll dive into the big issues of the day with exclusive interviews with the entertainers, the experts, the movers and shakers of the festival, plus you, the audience.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Of course, this hurricane season runs from June 1st all the way to the end of November. We want to make sure that you are prepared. So we teamed up with General Accident Insurance to bring you some tips to make sure you are checking all of those important things off your list and you're indeed ready for the hurricane season. So here's what we want you to remember today. Secure or bring in outdoor objects such as patio furniture, children's toys, trash cans, etc. that could be swept away or damaged during strong winds or flooding. So make sure you bring everything inside once you are preparing, because these can become projectiles as well that can hurt other people or damage your property. This hurricane tip was brought to you with the compliments of General Accidents Insurance Company, Barbados Limited. Stay prepared this hurricane season with General Accident. Protect your property and its contents.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome to the Crop Over Sweet Spot, your go-to show for all things Crop Over 2024. We'll dive into the big issues of the day with exclusive interviews with the entertainers, the experts, the movers and shakers of the festival, plus you, the audience. Get to join the conversation and share your views. Tune in to CBC TV 8 every Friday night for the ultimate crop over experience with yours truly, the Admiral. We're big on everything Crop Over 2024. The Crop Over Sweet Spot, brought to you with the kind compliments of Axel Finance.
We enjoy a game of dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a party yet.
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
So good in a party yet. You know why?
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
Calling all Soccerholics! The highly anticipated soccer pop-up party of the season is back! Follow us to a different location every Friday night from 8 p.m. from May 10th to June 14th for the Barbados Lottery White Oak Rum 98.1 The One Soccer Stop Pop-Up Party. We bring you the music and giveaways, and you bring the vibes and the action.
There is a saying, you can find a Bajan anywhere. Are you a Bajan living abroad? Or do you know of one who has migrated to another country? Well, we at Mornin Barbados would love to have you or them on our Bajan Afar segment. Share your amazing stories, experiences, and how you have adapted to a new culture. Send us an email to morninbarbados@cbc.vb, and together we will travel the world.
From 98.1 to CBC TV 8 comes the Soca Avenue, the sweetest soca hour in radio. It's artists with new tunes and some old sweet ones too, jamming on the Soca Avenue. Saturdays, join AON Skills and the crew down on Soca Avenue. All new on CBC TV 8. Feeling the festival.
From the beautiful shores of the gem of the Caribbean, Barbados, home of the amazing Harrison Cave, the tantalizing Oistins Bay Garden, our historic garrison, the indigenous road tennis, and the friendliest people in the world. We are 94.7 FM, the ultimate Bajan experience.
My friend, you don't plan to get it.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 7:23. Welcome back to Morning Barbados. Good to have you with us in company. We're going to welcome a familiar face to us at this time. He's a sound engineer, and he just received major recognition on the national stage for his work with his team. They copped a Daytime Emmy Award for their work on the Kelly Clarkson show. So let me say a very special good morning to Omatali Beckett, sound engineer. Good morning to you, Omatali.
Shines. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you. You've been away for quite some time. Talk to me a little bit, first of all, about your journey as a sound engineer.
Well, that started in 166 square miles of total smiles, Barbados. And I know one of my first times I went to Radio Fusion for the children's program, and I saw magic of radio. And I was like, wow. And then I was able to get in that building because my mom got a job there. And man, I just harassed everybody I could find in that building. I wanted to learn, I wanted to see how things were done. And I had many mentors in that building, from technical operators to broadcasters. And I just spent a lot of time trying to learn. And that accelerated quickly. And then I crossed over into being an on-air personality. And then I was like, I want to do audio. I want to be like technical behind the scenes. So I would blame Olgalopsio, Dame Olgalopsio, and my mother.
Well, that's a lot of great blame. So what do you see as maybe a pivotal moment in getting you to the place after you immigrated to Barbados to where you are today, to achieving this great feat along with your team of getting this Emmy Award for the work you're doing in the area of sound?
Strange fact. I never really decided to immigrate or leave. I was touring in and out of Barbados with like Crossfire, Desire, and while back home, I would also work with various sound companies and various talents coming in. And I think back in like 1994-ish, 5-ish, when I moved to England, I really dove into audio over there. And then I came back home and I balanced studio, live sound, and radio and production and stuff. By me meeting more people and becoming more involved in more projects, I actually ended up that I was working so much that I ended up just not being home. I can't tell you the amount of apartments and stuff outside of my family home in Barbados that my mom actually had to move stuff out for me because I was just working so much and I was just chasing. Because the more you get involved, the more you're like, yeah, I want to do more. So at this point, it's like 30 years plus of me being involved in sound. And this opportunity came about from a friend of mine that works on The Tonight Show. And it's like 4 years he's been saying to me, yo, you should come and do some stuff here. And it was at that I finally did it last year, and with zero talking heads, zero high level, if you want to call it, television experience. But guess what I had? 30 plus years of audio experience. So as they said to me, we don't have to teach you technology. We just have to teach you television. And so I learned.
Now we know even a nomination for an Emmy is a great deal. So initially, how did you and the team feel about hearing about the nomination, and then take us to the place where you actually found out that you had won?
Well, the Kelly Clarkson audio team is currently on a 4-year winning streak. Therefore, I joined a very well-oiled machine that I had to step up. I had to learn. I had to fit in to what the team leader set out of the goal of excellence always. So therefore, I came in coachable, and I continue every day to learn from the various team members. It takes a lot of people to make a television show like this happen. You have let me quickly do it for you. You have an A1 who's the team leader. That person is the production broadcast mixer, and you have a music mixer. That person only mixes the music, like the house band and the guest acts. Then you have me, front of house PA mixer. I provide the experience for the audience in studio like they're at home watching television. Then you have the fallback monitor mixer. That person is responsible for what the band and the guest band, the house band and the guest band hears. And then you have 2 production A1s. Those are the people that love the guests and make sure everything is fine so that when we get those microphones, they're positioned properly and you can hear. And then you have music A2s. They're responsible for making sure that the house band and any guest acts are taken care of. The stuff is patched, the stuff is wired. And then you have post-production engineers who take care of what is put on tape. Well, I said tape. What is recorded. And they, clean it up. And, sometimes people do dual roles. So like in my position, I do front of house and PA mixing, and I'm also able to do the broadcast mixing on this project.
Yeah, that certainly is a lot. And when you talked about dual roles, you would know about our operation here. You said you had to learn TV because you knew the technology, and obviously you've worked in sound engineering for quite some time. But TV is indeed different, and it shifts even as you move from show to show, because there will be different setups and that kind of thing. So certainly our television setup here is a lot different from that. That's a much bigger operation in terms of having a live studio audience and being able to present a mix to them that they can enjoy in a way that people at home are enjoying, as you put it, and things like that. What was it like kind of taking it all in as you move through your career? It certainly calls for, or seems like you had to do a great deal of learning as you went about it. And I recall that you said some time ago that you've been open to learning, and that is what would have made all the difference with you. So
you always have to remain coachable, and I always refresh. It's very important in the changing face of audio right now, and most careers where everything has become so much more, I don't like to say, but you got to say digitized, digital, analog. Everything is a GUI right now, a graphical user interface. Everything you have to know software. You have to know IT. I can't stress that enough. Audio has evolved into IT 192.168.1.0. Like, it's IT, so IT based right now. And in the future, we got AI. So here's the challenge. You have to adapt and learn what the AI tools are doing. And for someone like me who's been in it so long, and myself and a bunch of my colleagues, we're constantly discussing this. Our challenge is to learn what the AI is doing, use our knowledge that we have over the years, and present what we need to present. Because guess what? That 18-year-old kid, that 21-year-old, 22-year-old kid that's jumping in the game, they don't have that 20, 30 years. They have what they see right now. And in reality, some of the tools are so amazing. You just put stuff in, press a button, and you're like, wait, what did this just do? So you have to constantly keep refreshing and keep evolving. Technology is changing faster than you can wake up. There's always new stuff. And I have always sought out courses, seminars, spoken to people, consult with people who were further along in the game than me, because you can never stop learning. I learn every day. I learned something yesterday, and I'm excited to find out what I'm going to learn today.
Because a lot of sound engineering is behind the scenes. You're now in close proximity to a lot of very popular people who might be appearing on the show. I mean, Kelly Clarkson herself and so on. So you must certainly find yourself fanning out a bit. Who are some of the more familiar faces that you've seen over time, maybe that you've come to know through the screen, that you've had an opportunity to maybe meet or see from where you sit working with the show?
Look, I can put this on the table. I tell people all the time, and they can't stop hearing me and my Bajan accent around here enough. I grew up in Barbados, and I was in media in Barbados, and I was always exposed to, if you want to call it, people whose stars. Shoot, I was on radio. I was my own little mini star. Like if I was on radio right now, I would be like an influencer. So saying that, you see, I come in this game with 30 years. So what actually is happening, Tisha, is a lot of the touring entities that I worked with or currently work with, some of them have ended up on the show. Like we had Sean Paul on the show. Like I'm with Sean now, probably 10 years, plus. You see everybody. Like I've been on Tonight Show, I do SNL. It's a thing where, my mom, my wife, they will always say, you jaded, because it's like you're accustomed and you're focused on your work. So finding out, I know, I see everybody from presidents to, so I don't know if there's anybody really that I fan out over.
Listen,
If you
typical
want to talk about
Bajan,
moments,
typical
I've seen some
Bajan. That's
crazy
why
stuff happen.
that's why these superstars come here, because they say, "Oh, Barbadians really paid them no attention." And I remember a few years ago in the international press, they were talking about the fact that Rihanna was walking around in Broad Street, and Bajans were like, the most is, "Hey, Rihanna." So I understand the Barbadian mindset. So take us now from your days in radio here in Barbados to where you are today, and looking at this particular award and what it means for you on a professional level, what it can do for your career moving forward.
Awards, Oscars, Tonys, Grammys, Emmys, they, what's the word? It's almost like they're freezing time. So you work on a project, you get an award, you gotta move on and keep doing it. Of course, it might scale and stack where people will be like, okay, maybe let's get this person. Obviously, they're obviously good at their trade because of the amount of recognition they have. But I'd frame it that awards kind of. I used to work. Let me put this snippet. I used to intern years ago at this studio here in Manhattan. And these guys used Oscars, Moon Men, Tonys, Grammys, Emmys as doorstops. And I think if you want to talk about looking back on moments, that was a moment. And I remember the owner, Andrew, he said that to me. He said, listen, these things are cool. You get recognized, but you get recognized for a project, for a record, for a moment. And then that's frozen in time and that goes into history because you still got to keep working. Because I can't rest on my laurels and be like, oh yeah, the team got this and cool. Yeah. No, got to keep working. So that and how what I did in Barbados influenced me. It has kept me grounded. It has kept me hungry. It's kept me always willing to be coachable. And because, like you alluded to, we don't have or didn't have a lot. We had to make do with what we had. And if anybody out there is listening, making do with what you have and turning out quality product is one of the biggest benefits you can have to your career, because then when you get to a stage where you have all the technology you need to deliver, you deliver. So Barbados definitely continues to guide me and continues to keep me balanced in what I do.
All right, that's beautiful, and that ties in with the entire concept of what we see in broadcast and entertainment, where we hear a lot, you're as good as your last performance. So no matter what you do before, what you do now matters, because that can really be turned on its head if you don't continue to build on whatever you've done in the past.
This is true. This is very true. You have to stay on top of your game and continue to learn and continue to be coachable. And one of the differences between touring for me and coming into television is that when I'm on tour, and let's say I'm on tour and I'm on monitors or I'm on front of house, I am in charge of, let's say, I don't know, 6 people, 10 people. In television, however, it's a team. You're part of a team. You can't be a maverick and do things that you think should happen. It's a stack of team. And that was just the audio department that I listed earlier. There is ingest, EVS, there is cameras, there is so much producers, there's so much going on. So yeah.
It's wonderful, and we don't see a lot of that behind the scenes. So it's wonderful that people who work behind the scenes to be able to make these programs happen are recognized in this way, and hopefully we'll be able to do it in Barbados as well. I'm often referring to my team here at CBC because people see you on screen, and sometimes people forget there's so many people behind the scenes who make it possible. So it's really important to acknowledge that. Now, with what you said about touring compared to what you do and working with a team on television, we most certainly have to ask you, what you like better. Is there one that tips ahead of the other in terms of touring and working with artists and being on the road as compared to being in TV and being behind the scenes and working in audio in this type of way?
All of them is me getting to mix and dig into technology. Touring, one of the reasons I gravitated finally and was like, okay, I'll do the TV thing and pursued it, is because touring keeps you away. My wife, my daughters, my 2 daughters, it's hard on family. It's hard on your friends. You when you're on tour, you're gone. You're out. And the level of touring I was doing, I was gone. Like 300 days out the year, I'm out. So entering television now has been such a breath of fresh air, and it's been awesome because I'm home before the dinner's cold. I'm able to at times drop off kids at school, pick them up. I'm able to actually attend things that my daughters are doing, or accompany my wife places, or be somewhere with my in-laws, or actually get to celebrate my birthday. Like Father's Day, I was not at home because I had touring. I had some dates to finish with Sean Paul. He just completed a U.S. tour, and we had three shows left, and I was working on Father's Day and away. So television, not technically, not because I love it more. The only reason I'm liking doing this, and I'll build on it, because it's a balance, because there's so many areas of television. Like, we're on the last day of taping right now for the Kelly Clarkson show. That's 180 shows we did, 180 episodes we did. So we're on the last day. When this wraps, we don't start back until early September. The team will probably be in late August to prep and prepare. So television will get the edge in terms of my time right now. Touring, because I've built up such a reputation, the phone always rings still. And I have some other projects where I do a lot of beta testing and whatnot for some pretty large companies out there. So I still have to show up on the road every now and then. But television is probably where I'll be nesting for a while longer.
Not nesting, Matali, but it is what it is. I have to ask, what do you miss most about being at home? Because now you're away so much of the time. You are home now that you're within television and that particular area, as in not touring, but now you're away from mom, I would imagine, and home here in Barbados. What are some of the things you miss?
I miss BIM every day. I just miss being able to get up and, be under birds tweeting and green skies, and, and I don't get, that's another thing, to be able to get home more. It's hard. Like, the end of last year, I hadn't seen my mom, I think, in like 5 years, seen her. We talk every day. She wants to see grandchildren and them things. And I had 2 days at the end of Boxing Day, I think. I flew into Barbados Boxing Day, spent Boxing Day and the day after with mommy, and then I had to fly out and go to Dubai because I had a concert to do in Dubai. So television hopefully will afford me the opportunity to pop home a lot more, because with the touring schedule, it evolves. Like, your planning department can tell you how much this has been like a rolling schedule to even get me to be here. And I was like, don't worry, don't worry, I'll get it, I'll make it work, so yeah, he's miss BIM every day. I ain't gonna lie, every day. I not miss but miss BIM. I like BIM. I was a Bajan. Name the place sweeter. People ask me, yo, what's your favorite place anywhere you've been? Right? And I think and I ponder, and I always go, place sweeter than Barbados. And that's reality. And I've been everywhere. I've been everywhere in this world. The only place I ain't gone yet is the moon. And some of the most luxurious places. And ain't no place like Barbados.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I know exactly what you're talking about in terms of kind of missing home, and a piece of the rock makes all the difference. So, what are you looking toward with this settling down in TV, so to speak? What's next for you? What are you hoping to do with all that you've accomplished before as you look toward your career in future? Not only with the Kelly Clarkson show, but certainly as a sound engineer.
Well, there's a lot of projects that I'm always doing something, always working in something with tech, always looking to become involved in some project, whether it's a new product that's coming out, and definitely continue in TV, continue to grow, continue to learn. There's so many areas to learn here in television. And I'm at the cusp of, as I alluded to earlier, with all the AI and all the graphical user interfaces and all the technology that's changing. Technology is about to change in another year. So that's going to be a whole new slate of learning that I have to go through. So I'm excited for that. Continue to do TV and, now and then 1 and 2 shows, gigs here. It depends. There's certain clients that I have, like Sean is one of those clients where it's like I'll go when he calls if I can, and it balances with television at this time. So watch my children grow, see my family more, and stay healthy. That's what I can say. That's my plot.
All right, good stuff. Sound engineer Omatali Beckett. Of course, we remember him as a radio personality here in Barbados. But good to connect with you. Congratulations on this win. I'm sure it will be one that will be added to a long list of wins with all that you've been able to do throughout your career. So an opportunity to shout out all the people here at home who are watching.
Man, listen, I gotta say hello to my mom. I know she got me on. People who helped me along the way. I know I gotta hail up the Burrows. I gotta hail up the Headley family. I gotta hail up Crossfire crew, the Desire crew, Slam City, Chris Allman, peers like Andrew Denny, all my radio crew, all y'all there at CBC, everybody over by the riverside, and just Barbados in general. Look, I stay grounded. Barbados, 100%. I listen. They can't help but hear it in the face daily.
All right. Thanks for making the time for us. Congratulations again. Have a wonderful one today. All the best to you.
Tisha, thank you for having me. Thanks to the CBC crew for putting up with me. And you have a great day too. Good seeing you.
All right, great seeing you too. All right, time for a break here on Morning Barbados. But stay with us. Some new music for Crop Over is up next.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
My friend, you don't plan to get it? Oh, Barbados. Hey, I'm KB Clean. Join me 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. right here at 94.7, the best and ultimate Bajan experience. My show is called Bajan to the Bone. Don't miss it, Bajan to the Bone. Weekdays right here and only here on 94.7.
The facts say Morning Barbados reaches an audience of over 50,000 and Newsnight reaches over 56,000. It's simple. When you advertise, you're getting your message to over 50,000 of your potential customers. Make the call to CBC Sales Department today and watch your business grow. Contact us at 467-5559 or email marketing@cbc.bb.
Tune in every Friday at 6 p.m. to see me, Chrissy D, on Fashion Flair on CBC TV8. I'll be bringing you the latest fashion trends, fashion ends, and everything in between. Get ready to transform your style, get inspired, and elevate your fashion game with the ultimate guide to looking fabulous. Join me, Chrissy D, this Friday on CBC TV8 at 6 p.m. for an exciting episode of Fashion Flair.
The ultimate cricket showdown is coming to ESPN, and MCTV has got you covered. The ICC Cricket World Cup 2024 is here on ESPN and MCTV. Tune into MCTV channels 302 and 308, and don't miss a single six, wicket, or heart-pounding moment as top teams vie for the 2024 T20 World Cup. From June 1st to 29th, it's cricket you can't afford to miss. Tune into ESPN on MCTV, and for live radio coverage, tune into 94.7. Catch every moment of the ICC Cricket World Cup T20 action.
Welcome to the Crop Over Sweet Spot, your go-to show for all things Crop Over 2024. We'll dive into the big issues of the day with exclusive interviews with the entertainers, the experts, the movers and shakers of the festival, plus you, the audience. Get to join the conversation and share your views. Tune into
Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Season is off to a running start. That's absolutely right. Lots happening with the music. And there's lots of music coming out every single day. So some of the artists have videos out and they're doing visualizers online and so on. So we wanted to share this one. It's called A Blessing from Mikey Mercer.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Welcome to the Crop Over Sweet Spot, your go-to show for all things Crop Over 2024. We'll dive into the big issues of the day with exclusive interviews with the entertainers, the experts, the movers and shakers of the festival, plus you, the audience. Get to join the conversation and share your views. Tune in to CBC TV 8 every Friday night for the ultimate Crop Over experience with yours truly, the Admiral. We're big on everything Crop Over 2024. The Crop Over Sweet Spot, brought to you with the kind compliments of Axel Finance.
We enjoy a game with Dominoes and singing karaoke.
I just love crew.
When you love me just a little bit longer.
You get to relax and have a drink and listen to some nice music.
It's something different. It's spectacular. It's fabulous. You know, it's a different feeling altogether.
I never feel so good in a
Follow me to Q in the Community this Thursday.
You know why?
While you go about your business, we go about our business, and that is gathering the news. Stay up to date at CBC News Barbados on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Get news update on radio throughout the day. And join us for the CBC News Night at 7 every night. CBC News team is on the job and bringing you the news.
Calling all Soccerholics! The highly anticipated soccer pop-up party of the season is back! Follow us to a different location every Friday night from 8 p.m. from May 10th to June 14th.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Semi-finalists in this year's Scotiabank Junior Monarch competition all gathered up in Warrens yesterday to draw for their positions for the order of appearance when they face the judges on Sunday, July 7th in the competition at the National Botanical Gardens. And we were there, the entire CBC team was there. Many of the ambassadors who were named by the NCF were there as well to witness the draw. So at 6 o'clock on the day, 13 competitors in the Calypso category and 13 in the Soca category will vie for the title, all right, to be named finalists. So that's coming up. And there were 2 draws. There are 5 newcomers, 12 schools being represented. Of course, in the Calypso category, there's Bit Bit, Shauna B, in this order. This is the order they drew. Bit Bit, he wasn't too happy to draw number 1. Shauna B, Hailstorm, Nikayla, Yonte, Queen A, Khaleesi, Charity, King K, Sabia, Trinity, Majestic Maya, Potent, and the reserve is Joe. And then in the Soca category, there's Leilani, Kari, Mr. Showman, Renisha Stewart, Josh Ox, Talisa Motley, Joshua B, John Boss, Lil Satis, Rojani, Twin Boy, Jaden Innes, Zaire B, and the reserve is Taquan. The Scotiabank Junior Monarch tent, number 2, is going to come off on Saturday, June 22nd at the Queen's Park Steel Shed. So you should definitely go out and support the little ones. Now, we want you to meet the winner of the CBC Mini-Me Father's Day promotion, Charles Yearwood. Here's the winning photo of Charles, his daughter Chelsea, and son Joshua. And Charles won a staycation for 2 at Sunbay Hotel. Vouchers compliments world-class cuts, and a photo shoot compliments 8216 logistics. So congratulations to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to CBC TV8 and for submitting the photos of you and your little ones. They, of course, gain the most votes to emerge the lucky winners. They do absolutely look alike. Definitely mini-me's, and I hope you had a fantastic time. I don't know if you've capitalized on those prizes as yet, but they are fantastic prizes. So coming up tomorrow on Morning Barbados, we learn a little bit more about the Barbados Students Association of Jamaica and the Barbados Trust Loans. They're going to be in to talk some more about the work they're doing with entrepreneurs across the country. Plus, we meet author Alicia Muhammad. She's going to be telling us about her bestseller in Trinidad and Tobago. So that and a whole lot more is coming up tomorrow on the Thursday edition of Morning Barbados. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great day today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning, Barbados, good morning.